When most people think about Swiss food, they think about one thing: cheese, usually melted. And to be fair, Switzerland does take melted cheese very seriously, but Swiss cuisine is far more interesting and far more regional than many outsiders realize. Because Switzerland isn't really one culinary culture, it's several. German, French, and Italian influences collide here in a small mountainous country where geography shaped everything: agriculture, trade, preservation, and ultimately, food. And perhaps that's why Swiss cuisine feels so unique. It's practical, regional, comforting, and surprisingly tied to survival in the Alps. Today, we're exploring the dishes that define Switzerland: fondue raclette, Rösti Älplermagronen, Spätzli Zürcher Geschnetzeltes, Pape Vaudois, saffron risotto from Ticino, Swiss, breads, salads, sausages, pastries, and Alpine traditions. And along the way, we'll discover that Swiss cuisine tells the story of Switzerland itself. To understand Swiss food, you first need to understand Swiss geography. Switzerland is mountainous. Historically, many communities were isolated for long periods during winter. That shaped the food profoundly. Swiss cuisine developed around preservation, dairy production, dense calories, seasonal ingredients, simplicity. This is not traditionally a cuisine of luxury. It's a cuisine of practicality. Cheese lasted through winter, potatoes stored well, bread was essential, cured meats survived cold conditions. Many classic dishes were originally peasant food, and yet today they're celebrated internationally. Let's begin with the icon, fondue. Perhaps no dish is more associated with Switzerland than a bubbling pot of melted cheese shared between friends. Traditionally, fondue combines cheeses such as Gruyère Vacherin, Fribourgeois, Emmental, mixed with white wine garlic, sometimes Kirsch, a cherry spirit. Bread cubes are dipped into the pot using long forks. Simple, communal, dangerously filling. But fondue wasn't always considered glamorous. Historically, it was mountain food, a practical way to use hardened cheese and stale bread during winter months. In fact, much of modern fondue culture was heavily promoted in the 20th century by the Swiss Cheese Union as part of a national culinary identity campaign. And it worked. Today, fondue is practically a tourist ritual. Though locals will quietly tell you something important, most Swiss people don't actually eat fondue very often. It's usually seasonal, social, and associated with winter. And yes, the jokes about the smell afterward are entirely accurate. If fondue is theatrical, raclette is deeply comforting. The name comes from the French word racler, to scrape. Traditionally, a large reel of cheese is heated near a fire, and the melted layer is scraped directly onto potatoes. Simple ingredients: cheese, potatoes, pickles, and onions. That's it. But somehow, it works beautifully. Like fondue, raclette originated as Alpine food for farmers and herders. And today, raclette evenings are a major social tradition in Switzerland. Though outsiders often underestimate one thing, Swiss people can discuss raclette cheese varieties with almost religious intensity. Rösti looks simple, because it is. Grated potatoes, fried until golden and crispy. Originally a breakfast dish for farmers in the canton of Bern, Rösti eventually spread across the country, and over time it became culturally symbolic. So symbolic, in fact, that Switzerland's cultural divide between German-speaking and French-speaking regions became jokingly known as the Röstigraben, literally, the Rösti Trench. A potato dish became political geography. That may be the most Swiss thing imaginable. Now we arrive at one of the most underrated Swiss dishes, Älplermagronen, sometimes translated as Alpine macaroni. Imagine pasta potatoes, cream cheese onions, combined into a rich mountain casserole. And then comes the strange part. It's often served with applesauce, which sounds bizarre until you try it. This dish emerged from Alpine farming culture, where ingredients needed to be cheap, filling, and transportable. Italian pasta traditions blended with Swiss mountain ingredients. The result is comfort food at its absolute peak. In German-speaking Switzerland, many dishes overlap with Southern German and Austrian traditions. Spätzli, or Spätzli, is a soft egg noodle or dumpling, like pasta, commonly served with meat dishes or cheese. You'll often find cheese spätzli, mushroom sauces, roasted onions. Swiss German cuisine tends to favor dense meals, rich sauces, potatoes, sausages, roasted meats. It's hearty food designed for cold weather and physical labor. Now we move to Zurich, one of the country's signature dishes, Zürcher Geschnetzeltes, thin strips of veal cooked in a creamy white wine and mushroom sauce, usually served with Rösti. This dish represents a more refined side of Swiss cuisine, urban, elegant, still comforting, but less rustic than Alpine dishes. It's one of the clearest examples of how Swiss food ranges from mountain survival meals to sophisticated regional classics. Western Switzerland feels noticeably different culinary-wise. French influence is everywhere. Sauces become richer, wine becomes central, meals become slower and more structured. One important regional dish is papet vaudois, a hearty leek and potato stew from the canton of Vaud, traditionally served with smoked sausage. Simple ingredients again, but deeply regional. And like many Swiss dishes, it's built around preservation and winter survival. French-speaking Switzerland also contributes heavily to cheese culture, wine production, pastries, and charcuterie. This is where Switzerland feels closest to French countryside cuisine. Then there's Ticino. And suddenly Switzerland changes again. Palm trees appear. Italian is spoken, and the cuisine shifts dramatically. Polenta becomes common. Risotto becomes central. Olive oil appears more frequently. One standout dish is saffron risotto. Creamy, rich, deeply northern Italian in character. Ticino cuisine reflects centuries of cultural overlap with Lombardy and northern Italy. And perhaps nowhere else in Switzerland does food feel so Mediterranean. Swiss cuisine isn't just about heavy mountain dishes. Bread culture is extremely important. Switzerland produces dark rye breads, rustic country loaves, Zopf, a braided bread often eaten on Sundays. And then there's pastries, Nusstorte from Graubünden, Luxemburgerli from Zurich, Bircher Müsli, originally invented in Switzerland as a healthy breakfast. Even salads have history here. Swiss potato salad differs regionally. Some versions use mayonnaise, others use vinegar-based dressings, which, naturally, Swiss people have strong opinions about. Swiss cuisine doesn't chase trends. It rarely tries to impress you visually, and it's not particularly flashy. Instead, Swiss food tends to value quality ingredients, regional identity, consistency tradition. There's a quiet confidence to it, a belief that simple food, done properly, is enough. And honestly, that philosophy reflects Switzerland itself remarkably well. Now for the truth. Most Swiss people are not eating fondue every week while sitting in chalets overlooking mountains. Daily Swiss life looks much more modern and international. People eat pasta, pizza, Asian food, kebabs, salads, and sandwiches, like everywhere else. But traditional dishes remain culturally important, especially during winter, family gatherings, regional festivals, national celebrations. These foods connect people to regions, language groups, and traditions. And in a country as diverse as Switzerland, food becomes one of the few truly national experiences. Swiss cuisine may not always be glamorous, but it's deeply authentic. It tells the story of mountains, isolation, migration, farming, survival, and regional identity. And perhaps that's why Swiss food feels so comforting, because beneath the melted cheese and potatoes, there's history in every bite.